Shalom. Call all Yahweh Shem Shah. Shalom to the elect. This video right here, this is just a little exhortation video, a little uplifting video for Akim. They be dealing with stuff they're dealing with, whatever adversity or ailments, or just dealing with stuff with your family, your women, all this other little nonsense. Because simultaneously, while this inflation hitting hard in the U.S., also known as Babylon, the value of an Israelite man, mainly a man that's of the elect, gonna rise up even higher. Because people gonna want to know what's going on. They're gonna be safe. They're gonna be healed. They're gonna be fed, and other numerous things. So let me let this video play, and I'm gonna pull a few precepts.
I told you just a little while ago what's going on. Gas, right, they're up because of everything going on with Colonial. We've been telling you about that, but that's not the story. The story is homes. The price of homes are up almost $70,000 from where they were.
All right, but hold on. Before I let this video play, let me go to the top 10 currencies. I was looking at this recently. The 10 strongest currencies in the world. Let's scroll down the list. Number 10, you got the US dollar. That's number 9. The Swiss franc. Go down some more. The euro. You notice how you see just one of them equals this amount. Let's go down some more. Cayman Islands dollar. Go down some more. A pound. Go down some more. A pound of sterling. A Great Britain pound. Got a Jordanian dinar. Omani Real. Bahraini dinar. A Bahrainian dinar. I should say. That's how you pronounce that word. They got a Kuwaiti dinar. So Esau through, man. This place through. So while this place being through, you're gonna have men being raised up in these sons. Most I gonna set certain men on high. Make sure they're safe. Make sure they got a hedge of protection. And the people around them gonna be cool too. While other people be bugging out. Now you can see it from a personal experience. I see it a lot of times when I be out on my day-to-day commute, or whenever I be making runs or so, just whenever I meet certain people and they'll come to me and just speak on certain stuff. Now I don't look at it just from a carnal standpoint, I look at it from a spiritual standpoint, and it make perfect sense. So let me let this be one post.
Last year, pre-COVID, cars through the roof. Even used cars are through the roof. Lumber, anything that you use to build new construction or remodel your home, through the roof. Metal is cheaper than lumber these days. I mean, we've been talking about the possibility of inflation coming as a result of all the fiscal policies and that went through both the Trump administration and now the Biden administration. But folks, if you were wondering whether it would arrive, it is here. In fact, look at this. I want to show you something. It's catching up now, right? This is what Wall Street Journal: inflation surge rattles markets. These are the headlines everywhere. Not for nothing. I don't want to break my arm patting ourselves on the back, but we've been telling you this for about 2 years now. Brent Jabor's been telling you as well. He's been following the trend. It's here. What is it? Describe it for us.
I mean, look, inflation, as we talked about, just to give you a simple point of economic, update here.
Yeah.
I mean, inflation is, as demand goes up, prices are going to follow. Now, stagflation, as you mentioned before, that's when, unfortunately, the economy's on kind of a downturn, but we're still seeing those prices go up. But the things you have to look at is, it's as bad as it was. Inflation, this number, so for April of 2021 against April of 2020, that number is the highest since it was in September of 2008. I don't know if you remember, there was kind of a big deal happening around September of 2008, the Great Recession, as it were. And I don't want to raise too many alarms, but the fact is, it's the worst we've seen in more than a decade at this point.
So the irony is the market is flush with money because the government is throwing helicopter money all over the place. Everybody has more money. People are then spending the money. They're buying a lot of products, so they're creating the demand, which makes the cost of the prices or the cost of those goods go up. Right?
Absolutely.
More demand, higher price. That's what's happening.
Perfect explanation. I can just walk off the set. You just set it up right perfectly there. But Rick, to your point, I mean, like you mentioned, home prices, construction goods. You just mentioned the price that the price of metal is actually cheaper than lumber. Well, unfortunately, there's some new production numbers coming out today of the inflation of how much it costs to actually produce it, not what the consumer pays, but what like a hardware might pay for that. And even steel prices, they're going through the roof just to produce it right now. So, I mean, look, everything is more expensive. And it seems crazy, but if you look at the way the economy worked over the pandemic, over these last 16 months or so.
Let's continue the anthem. I'm going to stop you because I want to continue this little scenario that you and I are drawing up. All right, so the prices are going up because there's a lot of money in the market.
Right.
People are buying a bunch of stuff. So now the only thing we can possibly do, and this is the Fed's decision, right? The Federal Reserve has to then come in and say, well, everybody's also borrowing money really cheap because it's at zero. Right? So why don't we do this? Why don't we increase interest rates so people won't be able to borrow money cheap, and that might at least push down the superfluous demand that's out there, and that could fix it.
Yeah, that could make it basically so there wasn't as much capital out there to spend on items, spend on things, because you have to look at...
So when is that going to happen?
Well, that's a question. Now, the Federal Reserve, Chair Jerome Powell, has said that he has no plans to actually raise interest rates right now until at least the end of this year, unless inflation stays over 2%, which this month it was at about 4.2%, I believe.
But that's an important caveat.
Yeah.
So it could happen.
Yeah, but now initially he said until it gets over 2%, and then he said, well, a median average of 2%, so that's going to be over the month.
See, you can never really trust what Esau say. And they'll say one thing, switch that shit up later on. Anyway, I ain't gonna let this video play too much longer. I'll just go into some precepts. Now, simultaneously though, once the currency collapse, what's the next thing that's gonna come into play? Because people ain't gonna be using that dollar. Let's do this precept. Been brought out numerous times. And I can been speaking about this type of stuff happening right here. Now it's just coming to fruition. So book of Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, it says, let me scroll down some. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand on their foreheads. Now, in this other previous video, they actually took one of them down, but this is another one. Let me see if I can find the actual article. Now, another thing that's been happening as well, you've been having this company thrive while a lot of other companies go bankrupt, close down, and all this stuff. And then look what hand that is. Well, look like the right hand of me. And what the scripture said. Receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. And why? Why is that? Because you see how people want to play games. They'll be like, oh, the mark of the beast ain't the RFID chip, or the RFID chip ain't the mark of the beast. It's other stuff. It's this, is that. It's real specific. Some scriptures, they be parabolic, that some of them be specific. Now, when I talk about the beast, it's talking about the system, because the system is the beast. You get swallowed up if you ain't moving right. Also, if you ain't being protected by the Most High. So, if this system require you to get a mark so you can buy or sell, what else would it be? Let me exit this out right now. Let me scroll down a little bit. It says the palm payment system is called. I won't even go into the RFID chip on this, so hey, it's coming out anyway. That says the palm payment system is called Amazon One, and it was initially rolled out back in September last year. And they set this up just so stuff like this can happen. When you close down the stores that go by traditional selling and buying, they ain't really gonna want to convert over. They still actually use certain stuff, whether it be credit cards or coins or whatever. That if they really want to get desperate enough, they'll set up a barter system some type of way. But with them being closed down, and then you got these more advanced technological stores, that's when this shit come into play. And it's all part of this scheme right here. Book of Revelation mentioned it and break it down perfect. Now let me go to the next verse real quick. It says, and that no one or no man might buy or sell, save he that had a mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now you have people that get caught up in this part right here. The name or the number. The key part of this verse right here is talking about that mark. And the mark is this right here. He's clearly got a guy using his right hand to go purchase something, to get in the store. I'm trying to see if I can find an extra video. If I can't, it's all God, just leave this right here just for a hot minute. And I'll post some other precepts. Now, simultaneously though, while this is actually happening, people gonna get sick from that. And I ain't gonna speak too much on the ailments, because Esau like to play health doctor and health watcher and shit now, so they be striking channels for so-called medical misinformation. And the main thing I want to get into is how valuable certain men gonna be, because of what's gonna be happening. Now it says in the book of Isaiah, chapter 13. So I'm gonna scroll down to verse 6. I'm gonna start at verse 6. This is how ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand. It should come as a destruction from the Almighty. So all this destruction, all this stuff popping off, like got people wondering why all this going on across seas, all these storms, volcanoes, and all this other stuff popping off. It's the most orchestrating this. And it says, therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt. It says, and they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrows shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth. So, we gotta visualize this stuff actually when you read this too. If men out here acting like they're in pain as a woman, and I've been around women where they actually been pregnant or whatever, and they actually holding their stomach or having pains and they cramping and all that or whatever. If men be like that, where do you think the women gonna want to go at? They're gonna want to go to those men that's not like that. It's not an instinct. You actually know what's going on. That make you more valuable. It make you more admired, more sought out. It says, they shall be amazed at one another. Their faces shall be as flames. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh, cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger. It just don't sound like loving everybody right there either. And it says, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. Except for the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light. The sun shall be darkened and is going forth, and the moon shall not cause their light to shine. And I will punish the world for their evil. and the wicked for their iniquity. So when you see people thriving in wickedness, don't even trip. Most High got people numbers on speed dial. People be thinking, oh, nobody see me. Can't nobody see what I'm doing. I'm ducked up. It's an angel marking and monitoring every last thing. Like the scripture say, the eyes of the Lord are upon the several kingdom, and the eyes of the Lord run to and fro in the earth, beholding the good and the wicked. So whatever somebody's doing, let's believe that shit getting sought. Now it says, and I will cause the arrogancy of the proud to cease. There'll be a lot of proud. I be seeing a lot of proud motherfuckers. Like motherfuckers get mad at me because they see my abilities, but I choose to be humble. So they get mad at me like, why you don't do this and do that? But that proud shit is like, it's cool. Motherfuckers look at it like it's normal just to be running around being proud and shit. But pride goes before destruction, like the scripture said. It says, let me read on some more. It says, and will lay low the haughtiness of the terrible. I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man that a golden wizard Ophir. And that's how it's gonna be. It'll be more precious than gold. You know, people love gold, especially our people like to shine, wear jewelry and stuff. So for certain men, be more precious than that fine gold. Just believe, who you think really gonna be around that man? I read on some more. It says, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of the place in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, and in the day of his fierce anger. Now, when they talk about this, it's going into something else as well. It's not the precept says the earth shall reveal to and fro like a drunkard. That's because all these missiles that's going to be getting shot. And they're already shooting them now. It just ain't escalated on the higher level. And through the Spirit, what they're going to do is, see the page not responding. Through the Spirit, what they're going to do is they're going to go have peace talks, and they're going to tone it down just a little bit, do a 2 or 3 day ceasefire, maybe 4, and they're going to be right back to the same shit, but even worse. And that's just how they get on. It says in the scriptures, when they shall mention peace and safety, and sudden destruction coming. Let me go down some more real quick, see if I want to pull some more scriptures out of this. Oh yeah, I might as well go ahead and read. This is why certain men are going to be more valuable as well. Because they're going to have a hedge from all this stuff that's going to be going on. The Most High going to make sure they maneuver in the right way, guiding their steps, giving them visions or whatever, so-called premonitions, letting them be able to see what's happening before it happens. Senses going to be heightened, all type of stuff. The list goes on. The book of Acts, which I'm going to make a video going on to the book of Acts too, because that's during the times we come in, the Acts, action. Now it says, in verse 14, it says, and it shall be as a chased rope and as a sheep that no man taketh up. It shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone to his own land. You got that going on now. Now you got Esau trying to lock it down though because of this pandemic. They don't want nobody to go back to wherever they're from. They gotta have the you know what. Now in verse 15 it says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. The children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. You see this happening. So the houses shall be spoiled and the wives ravished. This definitely going to be happening because you're going to have a lot of judicial law enforcement. When all hell breaks loose, they ain't going to be trying to run around and try to patrol and make sure shit cool. They're going to be trying to make sure their houses and their family straight. So stuff going to go from law and order to lawless. Well, you know, some more. It says, behold, I will stir the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. And you see these other nations right now, as I speak, you look at stuff going on in the news, they ain't trying to do no deals or none of this stuff right now. They basically like, look, you made the wrong move. Are you ready for war? Let's see what else I want to go down real quick. Alright, that's how I'm going to pull out of this chapter. I'm going to go to another one now. It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 32, verse 2. It says, It says, and a man shall be as a hiding place from the wind. So you gotta think about that. Just imagine a tornado or something coming, and you see this person, you can go hide with them while this storm passes. That's real valuable right there. That ain't nothing that's not valuable. So how come you get looked down upon and your family acting funny and all that shit? Man, fuck all that shit. When stuff really hit the fan and people started realizing them same ones that was trying to alert them and edify them or whatever, the ones that actually be cool while all this shit going on, then they don't want to be around them. They want to see what's up. And not even just them, it's going to be people that you never even met that's going to be around. And reading on some more, it says, and cover it from the tempest as rivers of water in a dry place. And I was talking to one of my family members about this. Like, just imagine how you walking through a dry-ass, hot-ass desert, or you out in the woods, you've been out there in the woods, and it's open woods, like trees spaced out, but you out in the sun, hot as fuck. It's noontime, you ain't had no water, and you just stumbling across a stream of fresh water. That's how certain men gonna be. It says, as rivers of water in a dry place. It says, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. You're in a hot-ass land, no shade, you just sweating, hot as fuck, walking around. And then you see like a ledge, a rock, so you can go up on there and cool off for a little bit. That's going to be the value of a man. And ain't just talking about no any man, talking about the elect. So I'm going to make sure those men that out one rises out, I'll be of that number. Because when all this judgment take place, I know I don't want to get caught up in that shit. And anybody with some sense, they don't want to get caught up in it either. Let me see, go to another precept, and I'm just end this off. And that's another precept I love right here as well. That's the book of Philippians chapter 4, verse 19. It says, but my power shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory by Yahweh. So everything we need, even with all this adversity that's about to take place, you're going to be straight. You don't have to worry about whatever. That's why you've been getting built up, going through what you're going through. So you'll understand, like, okay, I went through this scenario and look how it turned out. So what more when all this stuff pop off? So I just wanted to bring this up. This is edifying. And shalom to the Lord.